Boris is heavy rocks, real rock and roll music, the type that scares your parents. They say it's the devil's music, but we know it's our music. This music destroys their boomer systems of oppression, such as poverty. Thank you, Boris.
Thank you, Boris. We're starting off this here tier list in the same fashion that I started off my journey through the discography of the wonderful Japanese noise rock band Boris.
I feel like a lot of people started with this one that we're going to mention.
Yeah, so this here Pink album is, I would say it's definitely one of the best places to start with Boris, but still one of my favorite of their sort of jam albums, you know? It's just an eclectic collection of noisy, shoegazy rock songs, and it's a really fantastic grouping.
I think that's why it's such a good album, because it has different styles of music in it that they've done throughout their career, and it's all done really well.
Yeah, very, very consistent record. This is personally, honestly, this is still probably perhaps my favorite Boris album. I would throw this right into S tier. I don't know about you.
Yeah, this obviously goes right to S tier. This is a fantastic album. This is just start here and then
check out that pseudo bread song. Hit it up on the YouTube or the whatever. So this here Rainbow record. What'd you think of that one?
I thought this was a pretty solid album. This album's really listenable and a good album to check out if you're a fan of newer Boris like Pink or Gensho. It's very consistent and only goes into experimental territory occasionally. The artist Boris is collaborating on this album, Micho Kurahana. I hope that's somewhat close.
Is incorrect.
Fuck, I don't know. No disrespect, Matt. Is the guitarist from the legendary Japanese psych group White Heaven, who were really inspirational to a lot of like noise rock groups. I think they're pretty early, like 68 or so. They're super cool group. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. So this record is it's pretty spacey, very chill. Definitely good to like sit out in the sun and just kind of breeze in this one for a little while. And I think it's a pretty strong collection. I also really appreciate this one for being like it's only like 40 minutes long, and a lot of Boris's records are like hour plus. And so this is kind of one that you can just kind of throw on for a little while and hang out with. You don't got to worry about sitting there all day with it.
Yeah. I
think, I don't know, either A or B for this.
I'd say B. It's not a bad B. It's definitely like it's definitely like right in between, A and B. But there's so many fantastic albums in Boris's catalog. So.
Right. It's all relative to itself. All of these albums are, fairly,
a lot better than most people put out.
Yeah.
They're all pretty fantastic in their own right.
Yeah. So next up here is Flood, and this here drone metal epic is pretty chill. I would say like you start off this album right, and there's just like this acoustic drone loop, and that just kind of just goes and it goes, and then once you're in. Like, there's this wave that comes crashing down once this loop starts. And then once the wave brings you in, it doesn't bring you back out.
Yeah.
And it's like this singular wave just pulls you under, and then you're just sinking for the rest of the album. But it's not like in a frightening way. It's like very comforting.
Yeah, I really like the droney stuff. I gotta say, I don't like the intro at all.
Oh, really?
Like the loop. So a lot of people said they were trying to do like a Steve Reich sort of thing. He was a classical composer. He did a lot of really, really repetitive music. He's famous for. But I don't know. It's just too repetitive. I was really happy once like the heavy guitars came in like, but then they would but then it'd be back to the loop. But then finally it just got straight to the guitars, and it was just like heavy Boris, and that was cool. So I mean, I didn't like the intro, but once you're into it, yeah, it was cool. You know, just
this album is a singular wave of inexorably blissful death, and I would put it personally in A tier. What do you think?
I don't like the intro so much that I would like bump it down, but maybe we could agree on B tier.
Ooh, that's a you're gonna have to sell me on that.
I don't know.
How about we consider it a weak A? If Rainbow is a strong B, then Flood is a weak A.
Oh God, I like Rainbow a million times better, but really? I could see
classic record of Boris's.
Yeah, if I ignore the intro, I'd say it's an A.
So can we roll with that?
We'll go with that.
All right. So this here amplifier worship, you like this one, yeah?
Yeah, this is again one of Boris's fantastic like heavy rock style. It's jammy and just pure, you know, real rock and roll.
Oh yeah, definitely some fantastical guitar noise sounds. Just very harsh instrumentation. There's a sort of feeling, you know, it's like that frequency, right, with noise music where you when you get to a certain decibel or whatever the heck it is that just sends you to the freaking stars, man. It's like it just shocks you in your body, and this album has a lot of that. The third track on this album also, I was upset to hear that I didn't hear more of it, but there was like this clicker clacker instrument. And it was like real cool. I really liked the sound of that, and I wanted to hear more of it.
I want to say that like I might have taken that as like maybe like a sample or something, because they were doing some electronic aspects on there. But I also want to say like the noisiness, like this album really showcases orange amps, which if you ever if you watch the live videos of Boris, or if you ever get a chance to see him, is huge fucking amps. An amazing like British, you know, tone. And the guitar tone on this is so great. Yeah. Like just in my opinion, the best guitar tone ever. That's how just how you do it. And it makes the slow songs like so heavy. It's awesome. In my opinion, if you don't mind me jumping right into the ranking, this is definitely S tier.
For me personally, I would probably throw it into A tier, but I can totally agree to put it in S. I'm comfortable with that.
Don't put my baby next to Flood. Not that Flood's bad, you know. I like the rest of the Flood series, you know, just because I don't like that intro. But let's move on to.
So this is we've got new album 2011. This is a pop album from Boris. What did you think of this one?
I don't know. It's definitely really weird for their catalog. I mean, they've had like different like pop excursions and like more electronic albums. But, you know, I mean, if I separate it from the Boris catalog a little bit, I thought it was really awesome. I thought it was really fun. I really like the song Jackson Head on it. It's really cool that the same band that's named after a Melvin song made a techno, like, thumping song like that. I think it's kind of cool.
I'm gonna be frank, you know, I had hopes for this album. I wanted to enjoy it, and I don't hate it, but frankly, I find it quite annoying at times. I don't feel that the sound is consistently enough, especially like that intro. I'm not into like Japanese pop music. Like, I mean,
this guy's a huge weeaboo, so this is a revelation right here.
Well, you know, like I was just showing you like that Shibuya stuff, and like something like that, like noise pop, kind of, like hyper pop stuff, like things like that. I can get really into. and like the kind of shit that shows up in like Dance Dance Revolution, or like most like anime, a lot of anime OPs I can get around. But like I don't know, there's something about just like the Japanese pop music that I've heard that is like made for radio. I don't know what it is, man, but it just fucking drives me nuts. And this is like the noise rock version of that, right? Like it's I don't know. This to me, this just doesn't seem like Boris. This is out of character for them. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like their soul is in this, and it feels almost kind of forced to me. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure this was released in tandem with Attention Please, which is the next album. Both of them were 2011, and Attention Please is more of like, you know, the noise rock that's kind of like more standard Boris, and this was kind of a pop excursion, and I think it was just to garner some attention, you know, and the idea of Boris making a sort of shoegazy pop album is not the worst thing of all time. But I think it's just not their thing, and I think if you want to, there is stuff like this. You know, if you want this sound, but just way better, IMO, just listen to like Massive the Fermenting Dregs on the lighter side, or if you want like something a bit heavier, then check out like Coaltar of the Deepers, Yukari Telepath, or No Thank You. Either of those albums will do you a much better service than this one here, IMO.
Well, definitely put that in the description, because I hate when people just like name drop an awesome album and not, you know. But I don't know. What do you think? Like B or C? I guess in my opinion, I'd put it B, but I feel like you're gonna want to say C or D, and that's fair.
I want to say
they're fair critiques.
I mean, personally, I'm throwing it in a C. I don't think there is a D tier Boris album. But I think there's at least a C tier, and it's this one.
I think I'm gonna argue. Well, I would have argued for
it's
Flood being
relative,
D.
right? It's relative to itself. Wait, what'd you say?
I would have put Flood in D on.
Oh, get the heck out of
here! That's just me. I just felt like I've heard people do so much cooler shit with loops, but anyway,
it's not just the looping though.
that doesn't make the album. But
anyway, so can you settle with C?
C.
Okay, cool.
C.
Nice. So this here Attention Please record, this is probably becoming one of my favorite Boris albums. Another incredible like 40 minutes, right? And it's just pure noise rock jams, you know.
Yeah, I thought this one was really, really cool. It has similar electronic elements, but not as pervasive as new album, and it's really smooth. You know, a little bit soulful, even a little bit of a jazzy vibe, which was really cool.
You want to know something? This is a noise. This is like not a pop album, right? But you want to hear Boris do a goddamn pop song justice? Fucking listen to that Spoon song on this album. Listen to Spoon, and that's a way better fucking pop song than anything that was on fucking new album. It's like way more Boris stylized, and it's got poppy tones to it, and it's real good. I really like this record. I mean, not enough to put it in S.
Yeah. I'd put it in like at least like B tier. I don't know.
I'd personally throw it into A.
I'm not gonna argue with you about that. You know, we have different tastes. I'm definitely gonna put like their rock, you know, stuff like higher just by default. But yeah, I think it's a really solid effort.
That Les Paul Custom 86 song, that's a good one. All right, so next up here we've got Noise by Boris. What do you think of this here?
I thought it was a really pretty album. It's definitely like one of their slower ones. It has really ethereal vocals. I didn't know they could sing this well before listening to this album. Really well produced, but still bombastic. Has the wall of sound they're famous for. It's a good entry point into Boris. You know, it's kind of a different one than most people would take, but yeah, it's really good.
Would not recommend this as an entry point personally.
Well, this album has the song Heavy Rain, which is a fan favorite and one of their live staples, so that's definitely one of the perks of it.
Yeah, that was an alright song. I respect this album.
It's a fantastic song.
It's an alright song. I respect this album a lot. It's eclectic, you know. It's got all sorts of sounds and such, and you know, that's the thing Boris does really well, right? They're always incorporating. You know, Boris is doom metal. Boris is drone metal. Boris is post rock and noise rock and all sorts of cool shit, man. And you know, they just throw it into a fucking blender, and like every track is a different fucking genre. And they sort of do that a lot on this one. And I don't know, for whatever reason, it doesn't do much for me. I respect it. It's just not my favorite.
Could we agree at least on a B tier for this?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. All right.
Now, what about this one here?
So this one means a lot to me. So here's a little delineation from the list. So in my notes, I have Chicken Story. Ryan thought that was an album by Boris. And he was like looking for it all over, and but then I was like, no, dude.
He wrote Chicken Story, and it was like the way he wrote it. It looked like it was a part of the list of albums, and I was rather perplexed. But with Boris's prolificity and their oddness,
it could
I would
be
not
a
have
Boris
been
album.
surprised if there was a Boris album titled Chicken Story. I mean, like I was saying earlier, there's Merzbow's got all sorts of fucking albums about birds.
Yeah, that's true. He's got like 13 Japanese birds. He's got like.
So tell me, am I wrong in assuming that Chicken
turmeric.
Story could have possibly been a Boris album title?
It could have been, but the
point is, he has a story to tell about a chicken. So go ahead.
So, when a couple years ago, I just randomly one day got the idea of adopting some chickens. So, you know, I picked them up from a farm store and like brought them home. And of course, you know, Merzbow is one of my biggest inspirations, and definitely at that time, I was, you know, really big into his, you know, the great stuff he does for animal rights and his love of nature. So I named my chicken Gensho, you know, after this album, and but it was probably not the smartest idea for me to just like go out and get a chicken, because my mom's real strange, so she kept them literally in our living room. Like chickens, they smell. They're disgusting.
How big was he?
I mean, it was just a little chick at first. You know, it'd fit in your hand, but then they give him like 2-3 weeks, and they're like you know, like 6 inches. They start to get their feathers. They start to fly. They shit all the fucking time. It was awful. If we kept him in the garage, it would have been way better, but we had chicken. We had Gensho, you know, the chicken in our house for too long.
It's pretty sick.
Till we gave him to a local farm.
Chicken.
But anyway, the actual album. God damn, this album is good.
This album is sick as fuck.
Oh yeah. There's been a lot of collaborations between Merzbow and Boris. I think we're up to 6 at the point of recording this video after the most recent collab.
Dude, here's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. This album is 2 albums, mm-hmm. and you're supposed to play them at the same time.
Yeah, that's one of the possible ways to listen to it. So you can play them on 2 turntables.
Yeah. I listened to the Merzbow portion with earbuds, mm-hmm. and then I had the Boris section playing in my AKGs over my earbuds.
Oh, that's clever.
And it worked really well because, you know, like the Boris segments are much more like slower and kind mm-hmm. of you know, spacier, and the Merzbow section is like, the Merzbow stuff is just it's a firework fucking show of laser beams and like and mechanical fucking, I don't even know.
Yeah. I've heard there's even people who have gone as far as to use 4 turntables and play all 4 sides of the album at once.
Whoa, that's pretty sick.
And apparently it's supposed to like work that way too. I think that might even be like the way it's supposed to be played. But
so the Boris tracks are, it's basically, it's almost like a greatest hits album of Boris songs.
Mm-hmm.
The only change made is that they're like exclusive mixes, so that they there's no percussion, I believe is what it was. And then the Merzbow segments are they were made exclusively for this album to play in tandem with the Boris segments. And it's just brilliant that they even thought to do that.
Yeah,
is incredible. And it's just like, it just goes to show, man, like these Boris and Merzbow are meant to fucking be together. It's incredible. This album is incredible.
Definitely. And it's such a heavy album too.
Yeah.
Like both sides.
There's a fucking My Bloody Valentine cover on this thing. Like, that's sick, dude.
Yeah, what'd you think about that? Because I love that. It's so loud, and
yeah,
I feel like My Bloody Valentine are probably like they probably love it. You know.
Well, I can't remember if it's the same one that's on, Yellow Loveless. So yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, there's a cover album of My Bloody Valentine's Loveless. That is just called Yellow Loveless. And this is actually, I think I might have actually found out about Boris through this album, where it's like they just cover My Bloody Valentine, a bunch of Japanese shoegaze bands. It's like Shonen Knife, like obviously Boris, Tokyo Shoegazer is on there, and they just each take a stab at a different song on that album. And Boris did Sometimes on that record. I don't know if it's the same version of Sometimes they did here. I can't remember. It's been too long since I've listened to Yellow Loveless. But yeah, I was not expecting that track to be on here. So that's really cool. I love My Bloody Valentine, so pretty sick.
Yeah, so can we just throw it right up there
in
and
S?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Put it where it belongs.
Yeah. So this is Boris at Last, Feedbacker, 2003. And you thought of this record?
So, I feel like I'm taking the title too literally, but I wish there was more feedback.
Oh no!
I mean, this it's actually just like a slower, jammy. It's kind of what they're doing now. They're just jamming their songs out.
Nah, man.
Not as much like Pink. It's more slower, heavier material.
I think this is easily one of their best works. This thing ebbs and flows like a motherfucker. It's got like, each song is like a fucking different genre. You've got like drone metal and like post rock. It's just like transitioning between these sub genres of metal and noise rock music. And
they go into each other like pretty seamlessly.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, it's
oh,
not.
Heck, if you don't throw this in S tier, oh man,
it's not my cup of tea. I want Las Rallies de Nudes level like feedback. Like, I don't know. I want their noise rock stuff for feedbacker. Like, dude, but I don't know.
I thought it had quite an amount of feedback personally, but can you compensate A? I mean, where would you put this if it weren't for me?
I don't know.
Because I would throw this straight into fucking S, like, right away.
I mean... What about B?
Oh, okay, well, we're going to have to meet in the middle. Because I'm not throwing it in B.
I've said my piece.
Alright, so this is, this here, Akuma no Uta, 2003. There are actually 2 versions of this one. There's like an 8-minute difference between them. I believe this is the original one. Technically, it doesn't really matter. They're like, mostly the same album. This one's like 30 minutes, 31 minutes. The other one comes at like 38 minutes, 39 minutes maybe.
And this is something that really caught me off guard, like listening to it. It's confusing which version is which, and I'm sure some fans definitively, whatever, like probably have it straight like Discogs and stuff, but. I found if you're listening on Spotify, The 2019 version with English text sounds much worse than the 2003 version with a Japanese text.
Do you just mean production wise?
Yeah, I mean like mixing and production. Yeah. I don't know if the 2019's a remaster. I don't like a lot of remasters, but this one I think the old school one sounds fantastic. Like I thought the newer one is a little quieter.
I think this is one of the best goddamn noise rock albums that you could chill out with and just jam. This is like one of the best jam albums, IMO.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of these songs have the same caliber of greatness as songs on Pink, but are longer and jammier. So that's cool. That's way cool. I don't like when music leaves you. Just like hang on to the feeling just a little bit longer.
This thing is super consistent too, and again, it doesn't waste your time. I took a bike ride to this here album, and I felt real cool when I was riding that bike.
That's heavy rocks.
Yeah. So, I think like A tier is good.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And that term heavy rocks is just like I fucking love that one. Like a slight mistranslation where it's very Japanese, but it sounds awesome, and it's more correct than like if you were gonna say it in a more this is heavy rock and roll. Like no, it's heavy rocks, dude.
yeah. So
awesome.
So Smile. This one, I think it probably has some of their best like sound. Like it's a very grindy, very noisy, like almost levels of almost like a harsh noise.
Yeah, it's such a
but still rock. It still has melody to it.
Yeah, once they get into the songs, a lot of times they'll like start to be more normal. But there's some weird samples on this, and there's a lot of distortion.
Very crunchy.
I think they might have used a buzz box, a DoD pedal that's like a noise pedal on some of the tracks. It's really odd, really noisy, but I think it's kind of cool.
I would never call it Boris a shoegaze band, but this is this is kind of close. I mean, I would say maybe Gensho's a little closer at points, but there's some pretty like chunky guitar and some distant vocals at points. This is probably one of their more experimental records, I would say, and so I think for that I definitely respect it, but it doesn't always work out. It's maybe not as consistent as something like an Akuma no Uta.
Yeah, it's definitely not a consistent record. It doesn't have the best jams, but it's pretty neat.
It's got a couple pretty good ones, I'd say.
Yeah,
but I think B tier for this.
Yeah, B tier is fair.
All right, cool. So we're down to the final two albums, which are we got Heavy Rocks 2011 and Heavy Rocks 2002. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the 2011?
I thought this was another one of the really cool, heavy rock and roll albums. Just amps cranked to 11, just blasting out, best jams.
It's a pretty loud record, I would say. It's a very Boris core album is what I would say. It's kind of, to me, it's a little boring. It's a little milk toast. I would say it almost feels like a factory paved Boris record. Mm-hmm. It's, I don't know, it doesn't have any gimmick, like I feel like each Boris album has a reason to stand out, and this one's just kind of there. Not to say that it's bad by any means.
So we're like the more experimental or more oddball albums, or like the poppy ones. It has might the lose least some
amount of character, is what I would say, out of this selection here.
Yeah, but I mean, this is something where their core like metal sort of fans are gonna love it, and it is great. But I could see how you could say it's kind of they've been there, done that.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just a little boring. I think there's one thing that was kind of cool is there's the track Galaxians, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to it and I'm like, hey, that's Galaga. Like there was like I don't think it was a sample. It was like there was like blue 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 like spaceship sounds and whatever.
So it was like chip tone? Like maybe they did it with a synth, maybe they did it with like a guitar pedal?
It was some sort of thing like that. Because then they kept doing stuff like that within the song. I was like, it was so similar that at first I wasn't sure if it was a sample or if it was just some sort of like pedal or synthesizer or whatever.
Yeah, it could be any of the above.
I don't think it was a sample though, because they eventually made sounds that sounded like that, but were not a sample from. Because obviously, well, I don't know if you know, because like Galaxian is the Galaga, like the game, arcade game.
I have no idea. I hope other people watching.
Oh well, anyway,
you better tell them.
It's well, I'm sure somebody knows listening to this what Galaga is. It's a very famous arcade game, and Galaxian is the sequel to that. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that's the song is titled Galaxians. So pretty sick. I liked that, and personally, I'd throw this in C. I think maybe B. What do you think?
I feel like the metalheads are going to be mad at us if we put it in B. But
I don't
the
know
metalheads have neglected Boris. So
I actually don't
them.
know. Yeah, fuck them. Yeah. I also don't know that this is a particularly renowned Boris album. I don't think many people.
You can put it in C. You can put it in C.
Right, yeah, why the heck not? Balance it out. Now, if you're talking about this one, 2002 Heavy Rocks. To be clear, if you don't know, these two records they both have the same title, both like a sort of similar ethos, but they are not in any way the same record. Mm-hmm. They're completely different songs. Yeah.
I mean, I would say this isn't as good of an album as Pink. It has a similar sort of sound, but it's like they're still trying to find their sound there.
It's not quite as good. This is like a psychic blend of doom and stoner jams.
Yeah, and it's a little bluesy. Like they're still.
You think so?
I think so. I think with like the licks, the writing of it, it's like they're still trying to get their metal edge up. But it's a really good heavy album. It's definitely, and I like the production on it, I should say, too. It's like, just like classic, like...
very punchy.
Yeah, well...
electrifying lo-fi guitar.
Yeah, like punchy, blown out tapes, sort of like cool, real cool production.
Yeah.
Really heavy
all sorts
rocks.
Of like ambient drone space rock spiraling and all sorts of lightning clouds and psychedelic stoner bullshit. It's pretty sick, dude. This is one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, A tier is fair.
Cool. A tier. All right, sick. And that's that, folks.
Yeah. I hope to do a video where I talk about all of the Boris Merzbow collaborations, because that's really up my alley. If people have no interest in that, let me know.
We're gonna do it anyway.
All right. So hopefully, that'll be up sometime.
Yeah, make sure to tell us that you hate us in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, but make sure you comment that you hate us. Mm-hmm.
And we'll try and we'll try and at least give the name in the description of some of the stuff we mentioned.
I'll throw it
because there's a lot of good stuff that was either inspired, Boris was inspired by, or like we related the material to that. So another great jumping off point.
Yeah. All right. Peace out. Later.